Welcome to my 5th painting update of 2019. This week, new romantics and some ruined buildings. These 6 figures are from Lucid Eye Miniatures, and I'm going to use them as new romantic cultists for my 1980s Cthulhu games. I bought them with no real idea what I would use them for, because they're just such wonderful figures. Whilst they're lovely, they did take an inordinately long time to paint. They've been half finished since the end of last year, in fact. I don't like Napoleonic style figures at the best of times because of the lace and the ribbon and everything else, and these were doubly frustrating because I didn't have any uniforms to copy. I was just making it up as I went along, and I wanted them to look very mismatched. Still very happy with how they turned out, and I'll try and get them on the table as often as possible. Here are the other 2 miniatures I painted this week. On the left is a Nick Lund Orc from the Grenadier range. He's a figure I bought specially because I've always wanted a Nick Lund Orc warband regiment, probably a warband. I plan to do one for Saga. Way back when Chronicle wasn't owned by Games Workshop, my first edition Warhammer Fantasy Army was entirely made up of original Chronicle orcs and goblins, and I'm just looking for an excuse to, I don't know, go back to those days. So this chap is very important. He'll be featured again later on when the rest of his orcs are assembled behind him, which will take not very long, I think. Next to him is Oolala Banzai from Space Channel 5, which is a computer game, came out on the Dreamcast. The figure is from New Bold World. It's out of print, out of production. I believe it's a Bob Naismith sculpt. I've had Oolala half painted since I think 2006, maybe 2007. She comes with 8 other similar figures, which I'll get to painting over the coming weeks. I'm very happy to finally have got her finished, and she's going to look great when the rest of her gang join her. She'll probably end up in Fantasy Star Offline as a hunter, because I don't have many hunters with swords and I need some, so she will see action very soon. Most weeks, as well as painting brand new stuff, I also go through my collection of older miniatures and rebase them for modern usage. So here are this week's miniatures from the vault, who have been plucked off their old style bases and redone. They're an eclectic mix. Let's start at the back on the right with Adam West Batman. He's a metal die-cast figure, which I bought recently actually, so he's not a redo, but he's brilliant. So he got based up, and he's going to be Batman, obviously, because he's fantastic. Next to him is I think a Games Workshop figure. This one wasn't painted by me, it was painted by my friend Simon Webb, and he was part of a group base with a guy on his left who I also think is a Games Workshop figure, who was painted by me. He was Abercrombie of the Baleful Eye, who was a character for an Ars Magica campaign that didn't really take off. Next to him is his Baleful Eye, which I made out of a ball bearing and some wire. It's baleful, as you can see. I think that's a Hinchliffe cauldron and fire that I've got it coming out of. Anyway, I did that, how many years ago? Many years ago. 99, 2000, something like that. So quite pleased with him. Lovely figure. Next to the eye, maybe too close to the eye, is an old woman from Garrison Miniatures, I believe. Garrison had a fantasy range whose name escapes me, but she's a haggard old crone. That red bit on her back is her shawl. She's actually terribly hunchbacked, the poor dear. She's brilliant. In fact, she saw action on the role-playing table last night as a village elder, so she's already back in the fray. Next to her, now, this was distributed by the chap who had the Garrison range. This is an admin's figure. He's a demon. He has a wonderful sort of sneery, sardonic face, and although the range is really cartoony, I love this guy, and he's just flat black with a red face, and he's here to collect your soul, right? So he got to the front of the queue to be rebased because I just want to use him lots. Then at the front there's a Citadel treasure chest, which Abercrombie used to own, and a Citadel rock pile with a dwarven lamp on it, which it's always useful to have a lamp sitting around. So there you go. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if you count Adam. 8 recycled figures back into the fray. The final rebased figure for this week is this wonderful wingless dragon. What are wingless dragons? They're worms, aren't they? Anyway, he's just wonderful. He's very primitively sculpted, and I don't know who made him. I don't know where he comes from, but he's just great. So he came off his old base straight onto a new one, and I'm going to use him at every opportunity. Right, wobbly cam for this, I'm afraid, because I'm holding it. But the last thing I painted this week were these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pieces of vac-form scenery from Amera Castings. These are 2 sets of their ruins, and they're brilliant. This whole lot came in at under £13.50 including postage, and I had them prepped and painted in 2 days. And that includes drying time for the basing compound and everything, because they're just lovely. I'll use this one as an example. So vac-form means they're hollow and they're just made out of plastic. You cut the excess sheet off with scissors, and then away you go. They got a surprising amount of texture, given they are, and they came up a treat. I think they're great. So much bigger one, sorry. There we go, look at that. Places to put your miniatures if that's your thing. Doesn't really affect my gameplay, but you know, lovely, easy done. I used my 3 base colours and my 3 grey colours. The final sand highlight went over everything just to make them blend in, and this is my role-playing mat. It's not the same colour as my War Games table, slightly off because I didn't paint it, but these match my normal table perfectly. So there you go, that's it for the week. Quite a few figures, 8 bits of scenery, pretty pleased. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.